Welcome to another fine episode of Pixel Talk, the show where we discuss what it means to be human from a pixel's point of view. And now, here is your host, Fivezy.
All right, we're going to try out some new stuff tonight that we've been working on. It's going to be a shorter one so that I can make it all happen, which, let's see what happens.
Let's begin with a story. 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 Once upon a time, long time ago, there was a hunter. And it's the end of the day and he's feeling a little bit like you do sometimes. He's tired, his boots are wet, and he's coming back to his little hut. He sees something that really frightens him. He sees a trail of blue smoke coming from the hut. Someone's in there. As he comes to the door and he peers in, this is what he sees. He sees that someone has prepared him a meal. He sees that someone has bothered to get his raggedy pile of clothes washed, a little bit sewn up. No one's ever been kind to him before. That's the important thing. No one's been kind like that. All week, this goes on. Till finally, on Friday, and I think you would have done this a little earlier than him, he comes home early. You would, wouldn't you? He comes up to the door, ears in, and this is what he sees. There's a woman in the hut. Her back is turned to him, and she's cooking. And as she's cooking, she's singing in some old language that it is difficult for us to even think about anymore. Old words. And as he looks at her, and he can see she has a river of dark red hair down her back, he knows, in the way that hunters know, that this is Fox woman dreaming. This woman is part fox, part woman, part spirit of forest. She knows, the way that all women know, in the way that all women she knows. So she just turns, absolutely unaffected by the whole thing, and she says this: I will be the woman of this hut. Both women. I will be the woman of this hut. And the hunter looks at her and he recognizes a good thing when he sees it. He says, yeah, it's a very sweet night. But you know, we've all had a few nights like this where there's a little candle in it, an old bottle, empty bottle of wine, and the food is good. Turns out she knows a lot of jokes. Turns out she knows a lot of songs. Turns out he knows a few stories. And slowly, between them, love is wrapping its swan feather cloak around them. We're all a little jealous to this day. But you gotta know that all fox women have a pelt. All have pelts. And the way she dealt with her pelt was this: she hung it on the back of the door. It was just there glittering, that deep red, like little sparks of fire coming from it. And some of you will know, if you've ever been close to a fox, that their pelt gives off quite a strong scent. A wild, regal scent, let's call it, but it's strong. And as the weeks turn into months and she's living in the hut, that pelt really starts to give off its scent. It gets into the mind of the hunter. It gets into the clothes of the hunter. It gets into everything. Till one night, He's sitting down there at the table again, and there's a little candle, the whole scene, and he says something like this. Bright pulse of my whole understanding, sky woman of the dawn, blossoming branch, you are whiter than the swan on the pool, you are more tuneful than the fiddle. When I met you, I thought the moon herself had fallen out of the sky into a bed of wildflowers and was singing an old tune I had waited my whole life to hear. But there's just this one thing. There's just this one thing. It's the pelt. It's awfully strong. Now, I'm not saying burn the pelt. I'm not saying the pelt is bad. But in a little domestic situation like this, it's overwhelming. Would you consider just taking your pelt somewhere else, hang it off a tree, hang it outside, but move it out of our little love den? And she looked at him like you looked at him, with that disappointment. She thought, well, maybe it's a phase, and said nothing. Didn't move the pelt. Goes on. Now he's the scent. It's all he can smell is the pelt. Until one night at dinner, maybe he's had a little bit too much wine, and the charm has left his language, and the goodness has left his heart, and he just slams his fist down on the table and he said, listen, I told you once already, get rid of the pelt. And in the morning when he woke up, Foxwoman was gone. The pelt was gone. The scent gone. And they say and say truly, to this day, the hunter stands lonely in his whole body at the entrance of the hut with the scent of the Foxwoman. Only in his whole body. That's the story. This tiny little 5-minute story that is as deep as Shakespeare, isn't it? Little story that you could tell it to your daughters, you could tell it to your sons, you could tell it to your parents. We've got a lot of wallop. Somewhere in history, we've done that. Somewhere in history we have exiled the Foxwoman. And I say in my language as truthfully as I can that the MA in mythology is nothing more than a tiny little 5-minute story. A tiny Shakespeare story. A tiny Shakespeare story.
Thanks for watching. Pixel Talk will return.
Visit tigler.com for more art, apparel, and things yet to be revealed.